The knock in the night. The night was quiet, too quiet for his liking. The man sat alone in his small cabin on the edge of the forest. Outside, the wind howled and rain fell heavy against the wooden walls. The power had flickered twice, and the shadows in the room seemed to move with every flash of lightning. He was used to being alone. He liked it that way. But tonight felt different. The silence carried weight like the world was holding its breath. Then it came, a knock, sharp, sudden, out of place. He froze. Out here, nobody knocked on his door. He lived miles away from the nearest town. No neighbors, no visitors, no strangers. The forest was his only company. And yet 3 knocks echoed again, slow, heavy, almost desperate. His hand moved to the old rifle leaning by the wall. He lifted it, careful not to make a sound. His heart beat faster. He walked to the door, each step echoing in the small cabin. For a moment he thought of ignoring it. But curiosity won. He had always been curious, that was both his gift and his curse. He pulled the door open, and there she was, a woman. Not human. She stood in the rain, her body trembling, her face pale under the storm's light. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost glowing, and her eyes, large, silver, and filled with fear, met his. She wore only a torn cloth hanging loose around her shoulders. Her feet were bare, her arms covered in cuts. For a second, neither moved. The man tightened his grip on the rifle. She raised a hand weakly as if to show she had no weapon. Her lips parted, but only a broken whisper escaped. "Please," and then she collapsed at his feet. The man stood frozen. Rain splashed on her still body, soaking the torn cloth. He looked around quickly, dark forest, shadows, the storm. Nothing else. But his instincts screamed that something more was out there. He lowered the rifle slowly and bent down. She was light, far too light for her tall frame. He carried her inside, kicking the door shut behind him. The room filled again with the sound of storm and silence. He laid her on the couch, studying her face. Her features were close to human, but not the same. Her skin had faint patterns that glowed faintly in the dark. Her veins pulsed with a strange blue light, fading in and out as if she was fighting to stay alive. Who was she? What was she? He reached for a towel, drying her off, then wrapped her in a blanket. She shivered, whispering in a tongue he didn't understand. Her voice was soft, broken, and filled with fear. The man hesitated. He thought about driving her out. She could be dangerous. She could be leading trouble to his door. But something inside him stopped him. She looked helpless, hunted. And those silver eyes. They had begged him for more than shelter. They had begged him for trust. He lit a fire in the old stove. Warmth filled the cabin, but unease filled his chest. He sat with the rifle close by, his eyes fixed on her. Suddenly, her eyes opened again, wide, bright, fearful. She sat up, clutching the blanket around her shoulders. "They are coming," she whispered. Her voice shook, her words clear this time. She looked at him with desperation, as if trying to warn him before it was too late. The man leaned forward. "Who's coming?" But she collapsed again, unconscious, leaving him with only silence and questions. He stood and walked to the window. The forest outside was dark, but he thought he saw something. Faint red lights moving between the trees. Too steady to be fire, too smooth to be natural. Machines, maybe, searchers, hunters. The man's chest tightened. He gripped the rifle tighter. Why had she come to him? Why knock on his door? And who was out there searching for her? He looked back at her, an alien woman lying broken on his couch. And then back at the lights, faint but growing closer. The storm raged on, but now the real danger was inside his home. The night was no longer quiet. It had become the beginning of something he could not yet understand. And deep down, he knew his life would never be the same again. The stranger inside. The storm outside grew louder, but the cabin felt even quieter. The man sat in his chair, rifle resting across his lap, eyes fixed on the strange woman lying on his couch. The fire crackled. Shadows danced across the walls, and her faint glow pulsed with every shallow breath she took. She was not like anything he had ever seen before. Her skin carried faint patterns that seemed alive, shifting like waves under her flesh. Her hair, wet from the rain, shimmered faintly with silver strands that caught the firelight. She looked fragile, but there was something sharp in her features, like a warning. He leaned forward, listening. She mumbled in her sleep, words in a language he did not know. Sometimes it sounded like singing, sometimes like crying. He poured water into a cup and placed it on the small table beside her. His hands itched with questions. Who was she? Why had she come here? And who were the ones she had warned him about? The rifle felt heavy in his hands. He thought about pushing her back out into the storm. This wasn't his fight. He had lived years avoiding fights, yet he stayed. Suddenly, her eyes opened again, silver, glowing faintly in the dim light. She sat up quickly, clutching the blanket around her. Her breathing was fast, her gaze darting around the cabin like a trapped animal. You brought me inside, she whispered, her voice weak but steady. You knocked, he answered simply. His voice was calm, but his hand stayed close to the rifle. Her eyes narrowed. You could have left me outside. I thought about it. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The fire popped. Rain hammered the roof. She pulled the blanket tighter, her gaze softening. You should not have opened the door, she said finally. Now they will find you too. Who? He asked, leaning closer. Who's coming? Her silver eyes locked on his. Hunters. They are searching for me. They will search every house, every shadow. They will not stop, the man frowned. Why? Her voice broke. Because I ran. She lowered her head, hiding her face behind her hair. The patterns on her skin dimmed as if shame had drained the light from her. Ran from what? He asked. From them. From my own kind, he blinked, confused. Your own kind is hunting you? She nodded slowly. Yes, because I know the truth. And because I refuse to serve them. The man felt his chest tighten. There were too many questions, too few answers. But before he could press her, the scanner on his shelf lit up. A faint beep. Then another. The man stood quickly, walking to the device. It was old, something he had built himself, meant to track signals in the forest. The screen flickered, showing several moving dots. They were close. Too close. She stiffened when she saw the scanner. Her hands trembled. They are here. The man grabbed the rifle and walked to the window. He pulled the curtain just enough to see outside. His heart sank. Lights. Red, steady beams cutting through the storm. Shadows moved between the trees. Tall figures with long, unnatural strides. Machines walked beside them, their metallic legs sinking into the mud, their eyes glowing with cold light. He cursed under his breath. She stood behind him now, weak but alert, her silver eyes wide with fear. If they find me here, they will kill you too. Not if I stop them first, he muttered, checking the rifle. She shook her head. You don't understand. They are stronger than you, faster, they were made to kill. He looked at her, jaw set. Maybe, but I was made to survive. For a moment, she stared at him as if seeing something new. Something she had not expected. Then the sound came. Heavy footsteps on the porch. The man's blood ran cold. He motioned for her to stay quiet. She pressed against the wall, clutching the blanket. Her silver glow dimmed almost to nothing, as if she was trying to disappear. The door shook with a loud bang, not a knock, a demand. The man raised his rifle, his fingers steady on the trigger. His breath slowed. His heart pounded. Another bang. The wood cracked. The storm outside roared, the fire inside flickered, and the cabin filled with tension so sharp it could break at any moment. The alien woman's voice was barely a whisper. If you open that door, it will be the last time. The man's grip tightened. He did not plan to open it. The wood groaned again. This time, metal scraped against it. Whoever was outside wasn't human. He looked back at her, at the fear in her silver eyes, at the glow in her skin. And then back at the door that shook again, harder than before. Something heavy stood on his porch, something that did not belong to this world, and it was trying to get inside. Secrets of the alien woman. The ruins stretched out before them like the bones of a dead giant. Towers leaned broken against the storm. Streets were filled with rubble, water pooling in cracked stone. The man crouched low on the ridge, rifle steady, scanning the shadows. Beside him, the alien woman hugged the blanket close, her body glowing faintly with every trembling breath. Her silver eyes swept across the shattered city and sadness filled her face. This world, she whispered, it is beautiful even in death. The man didn't answer. His eyes tracked the hunters below, their red lights sweeping like predators' eyes. Every street, every corner of the ruins carried danger. He turned to her. Why are they after you? No more half-truths. Tell me everything, her lips trembled. She looked at him, then at the broken city again. Finally, she spoke. My name is Lyra. I was not born to fight. I was born to build. I was a scientist of the Othari people. My task was to create new ways to harvest life from planets. The man's grip on his rifle tightened. Harvest life? She nodded, shame in her eyes. We drain energy. Worlds, oceans, forests, and people. It keeps our empire alive, but it destroys everything we touch. When I learned what my work truly caused, I refused to continue. The man stared at her, disbelief fighting with anger. So your people came here to drain Earth? Her voice was low. Yes, you were marked for harvest long ago, quietly, carefully. Most humans will never know until it is too late. The man's heart pounded. The storm outside seemed quieter now, as if the whole world held its breath. And this device? He asked, nodding to the glowing shard she held. She unwrapped it from the torn cloth. The blue light pulsed faintly, casting strange shadows on her face. It is half of what we call a core key. It can disrupt the network that feeds our machines. Without it, the hunters are blind, powerless. With it, humans could fight back, the man frowned. Could or will? She shook her head. It is broken. My people destroyed the other half before I escaped. Without both, it is unstable. Dangerous. If I use it wrong, it will kill us instead of them. The man stared at the glowing device. Something in his gut twisted. This woman could be telling the truth, or she could be leading him to ruin. Either way, the hunters weren't stopping. He turned his gaze back to the ruins. Red lights still moved below, but some were climbing higher, closer. They didn't have much time. Why me? He asked suddenly. Out of all the doors you could knock on, why mine? Lyra's silver eyes softened. Because I saw you, he frowned. Saw me? She nodded slowly. My ship fell far from here. I was dying in the forest, hunted. I reached out searching, and I felt something, strong, defiant, human. It pulled me here. The man shook his head. That makes no sense. Maybe not to you, she whispered. But to me it was hope. The words hung between them, heavy and fragile. Before he could answer, the scanner in his pocket beeped sharply. He pulled it out. Dots swarmed across the screen. The hunters were converging. They're closing in, he muttered. Lyra clutched the device tighter. They are drawn to the core key. It calls to them. The man cursed. So you've been a beacon this whole time. Her eyes burned with regret. I had no choice. Without it, I am nothing. Without it, your people are lost. The man stood, scanning the ruined rooftops. They needed higher ground cover and maybe a way to fight back. He motioned for her to follow. They moved carefully through the rubble, slipping between broken walls and shattered glass. Every sound echoed too loud, every shadow felt like a trap. The city was alive with danger, the hunters' red lights growing brighter. At one point, Lyra stumbled. The man caught her, steadying her by the arm. She looked at him, her eyes searching. Why do you help me? Because you knocked, he said simply. For a brief moment, she smiled. It was small, faint, but real. Then the sound came. A metallic roar that shook the ruins. The man froze. On a nearby rooftop, a massive shape unfolded. Not just a hunter. Bigger. Heavier. Its chest glowed with burning red lines and its claws scraped sparks off the stone. A commander, Lyra gasped. They sent a prime. The man raised his rifle, but Lyra grabbed his arm. No, that one cannot be killed by bullets. We must hide. The prime leaped down, landing with a crash that shook the ground. Its visor scanned the ruins, sweeping beams of red across the broken streets. Behind it, more hunters marched, their steps like thunder. The man's heart pounded. Lyra clutched the core key close. We are out of time, she whispered. The prime's visor turned, locking onto their ridge. And then it roared. Betrayal or sacrifice? The prime's roar shook the ruins. The sound was not only metal, it was hunger. The man froze, rifle steady but useless against something so massive. Lyra clutched the glowing core key, her body trembling, silver eyes wide with dread. The prime's red visor swept across the ridge. Then it began to climb. The man grabbed Lyra's arm. Move! They stumbled down broken steps into the ruins below. Rain poured through shattered roofs, lightning split the sky. Hunters spread through the streets, their red lights weaving like a deadly net. The man fired at one, hitting its visor. The shot sparked, but slowed it just enough. He dragged Lyra into a crumbling building, the walls black with mold, the air thick with dust. Inside, shadows swallowed them. The man pressed his back to the wall, rifle raised. Lyra leaned against him, gasping, the core key glowing brighter in her hands. They'll find us, she whispered. Then tell me how to stop them. Her silver eyes glistened. The core key. If I release its power, it will blind their machines. But, she faltered, but what? It will burn me. My body was not made to carry this much energy. If I use it fully, I die. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at her, then at the hunters closing in outside. His chest ached with a truth he did not want to face. Before he could speak, the building shook. The prime slammed through the wall, stone exploding in a shower of dust. Its claws carved through concrete like paper. The man shoved Lyra aside and fired round after round. Sparks burst, but the prime didn't slow. It reached out, claws swiping. He dove, rolling across the floor, the claws smashing where he had stood. Lyra cried out, clutching the core key to her chest. The prime turned its visor on her. The red glow intensified. It knew she was the target. The man leapt between them, firing at the prime's head. "Come for me," he roared. The prime's fist caught him square in the chest. Pain exploded through him. He flew back, crashing into a pillar. His vision blurred, lungs burning. Through the haze, he saw Lyra rise. Her skin glowed brighter, patterns blazing blue across her arms. The core key pulsed like a heartbeat. "No," the man croaked. "Don't." But she lifted it high. Blue light burst from her hands, a wave of energy that shook the ruins. Hunters in the street staggered, their red eyes flickering. Drones dropped from the sky like stones. The prime reeled, its visor cracking, sparks raining from its chest. The man shielded his eyes. The power was blinding, beautiful, and terrifying. Then silence, the glow faded. The hunters outside collapsed, their lights dead. The prime sank to one knee, its body trembling with broken circuits. And Lyra, she collapsed. Truth and lies, the door shook again. Splinters rained to the floor. The man braced his rifle against his shoulder, eyes locked on the weak wood that separated him from whatever waited outside. The alien woman pressed herself against the far wall, clutching the blanket so tight her knuckles turned white. Her silver eyes glowed in the firelight, filled with terror. The man breathed slow, calm, ready. He had survived storms, wolves, and worse. But this was different. The weight behind that door was not human, not animal. It carried a presence like iron. Then, as suddenly as it began, the banging stopped. Silence. Only the rain on the roof. Only the hiss of the fire. The man did not relax. He waited, finger tight on the trigger. His ears strained. Somewhere outside, footsteps crunched in the mud, slow, deliberate. Whoever it was, they were circling the cabin. He lowered his voice. "You'd better start talking." "What are they?" The alien woman swallowed hard. "Hunters. My people's soldiers. Machines walk with them. They smell fear. They see heat. You cannot hide. Why are they after you?" Her gaze fell to the floor. "Because I know the truth. And they want me silent," the man's eyes narrowed. "Truth about what?" She looked up sharply, her silver eyes flashing. "About the war. About what we do to other worlds." "To your world." The words hit him like cold water. "My world?" She nodded, her face pale. "Humans think they are safe. You think the stars are far away. But my people, we have already marked this planet. You are nothing more than resources to them." His grip on the rifle tightened. "You expect me to believe that?" "It doesn't matter what you believe," she whispered. "It is already happening. The hunters outside are proof." Before he could answer, a metallic screech cut through the storm. He darted to the window, peering through a crack in the curtain. Red lights. 3 of them. Moving slowly, sweeping across the forest. Machines, tall and thin, their metal limbs glinting with rain. Between them, dark figures walked upright, their armor shifting like liquid, their heads turned unnaturally, scanning the night. The alien woman's breath quickened. "They know I am close," the man cursed under his breath. "Then we move." She shook her head quickly. "No, if you go outside, you die. They were built to hunt rebels like me. You cannot fight them." The man turned from the window, his jaw set. "I've fought worse." Her silver eyes widened, disbelief mixing with something else, respect. "You are only human." "Exactly," he said. "And that's why they won't expect me." For a moment, silence stretched. Then she whispered, "Humans." Always reckless, the man checked his rifle, loading fresh rounds. His hands were steady, but inside his chest something twisted. If she was telling the truth, then Earth was in danger. If she was lying, then he had let a trap inside his home. "Why me?" he asked suddenly. "Why my door? You could have gone anywhere." She looked down at her trembling hands. "Because you were the only one who opened it." Her words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. The scanner beeped again. Closer. The dots were spreading, surrounding the cabin. The man's heart thumped hard. Time was gone. The alien woman stood, weak but determined. She pulled at the torn cloth around her shoulder and revealed something hidden beneath, a small broken device glowing faintly blue. The man frowned. "What is that?" "A key," she whispered. "A secret they would kill me for." "Or you're lying," he shot back. Her silver eyes burned into his. "If I wanted you dead, I would not have knocked." Another bang shook the cabin. Dust fell from the ceiling. This time the doorframe cracked. "They've found us," she said, her voice shaking. The man raised his rifle, aiming at the door. His mind raced. Truth or lies? He had no choice but to stand. The alien woman stepped beside him, her body trembling but her eyes bright with strange courage. "If we survive this night, I will tell you everything." The wood split again. A metallic claw punched through, tearing planks like paper. The man steadied his breath. Outside, the hunters growled in voices that weren't human. Inside, the fire dimmed, shadows stretching long across the cabin. And between truth and lies, only survival remained. The chase begins. The claw ripped deeper into the wooden door. Screws popped loose, boards snapped like brittle bones. The man gritted his teeth, rifle ready. The alien woman clutched the broken device against her chest, her silver eyes wide with terror. The next strike shattered the lock. The door burst inward. A hunter stepped through. It was tall, armored in dark metal that shimmered like oil. Its face was not a face at all, only a mask of glass glowing red. Behind it, two more shadows moved, and outside, the storm flashed silver over mechanical legs. The man fired. The gun's thunder filled the cabin. The first shot slammed into the hunter's chest. It staggered but did not fall. Sparks sprayed where the bullet struck. The man fired again, hitting its shoulder. The creature jerked sideways, then straightened, almost mocking him with its silent stare. "They don't stop," the woman whispered. The man cursed. He grabbed her arm. "Then we run." She stumbled, weak from her wounds, but he pulled her through the back door. The storm hit them like a wall, rain cold and heavy, wind howling through the trees. Behind them, the cabin shook as the hunters forced their way inside. "Go," he shouted, dragging her into the forest. Branches whipped his face. Mud sucked at his boots. Red lights cut through the trees behind them, steady and unrelenting. Machines crashed through undergrowth without slowing. The woman gasped for breath. Her body glowed faintly, every pulse of light making them easier to track. "Dim it down," the man hissed. "I can't," she panted. "It happens when I'm afraid." "Then stop being afraid," he barked. She shot him a look, half anger, half disbelief, but she kept running. Suddenly, a drone swooped overhead, its metallic wings slicing the rain. A red beam swept across the ground, locking onto them. The man dove, pulling her with him into the mud. The beam cut just above, burning the bark off trees. The drone circled, humming like a swarm of bees. The man raised his rifle and fired once. The shot cracked the drone's side. Sparks flew, but it didn't fall. He fired again, hitting its core. This time, the machine exploded in a burst of flame and smoke, crashing into the trees. The woman stared at him. "You are reckless," he reloaded, teeth gritted. "I'm alive. That's all that matters." But the blast had given away their position. Red lights multiplied in the forest. The hunters were closing in. They reached a ravine where the ground split open, a dry riverbed littered with rocks. The man slid down first, then helped her. She stumbled, nearly falling, but he caught her arm. "Keep moving," he urged. She nodded weakly. Her skin glowed brighter now, veins flashing blue as if her body fought against itself. She stumbled again, pressing a hand to her chest. "What's wrong?" he demanded. "Using energy," she gasped. "Too much. Too fast. What energy?" Before she could answer, a shadow dropped into the ravine behind them. A hunter. Its red visor glowed in the rain. The man fired instantly. The bullet ricocheted off its armor. The hunter lunged forward, metal claws slashing. The woman lifted her hand. For the first time, the patterns on her skin blazed with light. A wave of blue energy burst out, slamming into the hunter and throwing it against the rocks. Sparks flew, its armor cracking. The man blinked in shock. "What the hell was that?" Her face twisted in pain. "Power, but it drains me." She staggered, almost collapsing. He caught her. "Save it. Don't use it unless you have to." More hunters appeared above the ravine, their glowing eyes staring down. "Too many," she whispered. The man scanned the shadows, searching for a way out. Then he spotted it. A broken tunnel in the rock, half collapsed but just wide enough to crawl through. "This way," he barked, dragging her toward it. They scrambled inside, the space tight, the air damp. Behind them, hunters dropped into the ravine, their heavy footsteps echoing closer. The tunnel twisted, forcing them on hands and knees. The woman's faint glow lit the walls, showing old carvings, symbols scratched into the stone long ago. The man barely noticed. He only thought of distance, escape, survival. At last, they crawled out into open air. The tunnel spilled them onto a ridge overlooking the ruins of a city. The man froze, buildings broken and blackened, streets cracked and overgrown, towers leaning like corpses. The storm washed over the ruins, lightning flashing across jagged silhouettes. The woman's breath caught. "This place, your people abandoned it?" "Long ago," the man said, eyes scanning the shattered skyline. "War, plague, doesn't matter now, but it did matter. Because the ruins were not empty." Red lights flickered in the streets below. Hunters marched in formation, their machines patrolling every corner. Drones buzzed overhead, their beams sweeping the rubble. The man's stomach dropped. They hadn't escaped at all. They had run straight into the enemy's nest. The woman clutched his arm, her silver eyes wide with dread. "They're waiting for us," she whispered. Lightning split the sky, and in that flash the man saw the truth. Dozens of hunters, their eyes glowing, their claws ready, the city alive with their presence. The storm roared, the ruins breathed, and the chase had only just begun. The man scrambled to her side, ignoring the pain in his ribs. She lay pale, the core key dim in her hands, her silver eyes half closed. Her glow flickered weakly. "You're killing yourself," he whispered, lifting her into his arms. Her lips curved faintly, almost a smile. "Better me than you." He shook his head. "Don't say that." Her hand brushed his chest. "I lied about some things." His stomach turned cold. "What things?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I said I only wanted peace. But the core key, it is not just a weapon, it is a beacon. When I used it, I called them. Not just hunters. All of them." The man froze. His heart pounded like thunder. "You mean the fleet?" she whispered. "They will come for Earth." Rage burned in him. "So you led them here?" "I had no choice," she sobbed. "If I kept running, they would hunt me forever. I thought maybe humans could use the key before the fleet arrives. Maybe you could win." The man's fists clenched. Betrayal twisted through him like a knife. Yet looking down at her broken body, he saw no enemy, only someone who had risked everything to stand against her own kind. Above them, the Prime stirred. Sparks still dripped from its armor, but its red visor flickered alive again. It pushed to its feet, towering, claws rising for one last strike. The man lifted his rifle, rage and despair fueling him. "You'll have to kill me first." Lyra's weak hand touched his. "No," she whispered. "You will live. Humans must live." The core key pulsed in her grip, brighter and brighter as if answering her will. "Lyra, don't." Her silver eyes locked on his, glowing through the tears. "This is my choice," the Prime roared, charging. And in that final instant, Lyra screamed, unleashing the core key with everything she had left. A blinding wave of blue swallowed the ruins. Humans are special. The light swallowed everything. The man shielded his eyes as blue fire burst across the ruins, washing over stone and metal alike. The roar of the Prime turned into a metallic scream. Hunters collapsed, sparks flying from their bodies. Machines twisted, their red lights flickering out one by one, and then silence. The storm outside quieted. Only the rain remained, soft against broken stone. The ruins lay still, filled with smoke and the smell of burned metal. The man blinked through the haze, chest aching, ears ringing. Slowly, he turned. Lyra lay on the ground, the core key cracked and smoking in her hands. Her silver eyes flickered weakly, the glow in her skin fading. "No," he whispered, crawling to her side. He lifted her gently, cradling her against his chest. Her body was light, too light. Her lips parted, her voice a fragile whisper. "It worked. The Prime is gone." He looked up. She was right. The Prime's massive body lay broken in the rubble, its red visor shattered, claws twisted. For the first time, the hunters were silent. But the victory felt hollow. "You burned yourself out," he said. his voice rough. Her hand trembled as it reached for his cheek. It was the only way. The man shook his head. You could have told me the truth. You could have let me fight beside you. Her silver eyes filled with tears. You already did. You gave me a chance when no one else would. That is why humans are different. He frowned. Different how? Her voice was barely more than breath. Othari do not trust. We obey, we conquer, but you open the door even when fear tells you not to. You fight when all odds say you will die. That is why your kind matters. That is why they fear you. The man's chest tightened. Her words cut deeper than any blade. Her glow dimmed further. Promise me. Promise me you will fight for your people. Do not let Earth fall as other worlds have. He gripped her hand tight. I promise. A faint smile touched her lips. Then, maybe my death has meaning. No, he growled, shaking her gently. You don't die here. Not like this. But her eyes closed, her body still in his arms. The core key slipped from her fingers, its faint blue light guttering like the last flame of a candle. The man bowed his head. For a moment all he heard was the rain. Then the ground trembled. His head snapped up. Across the sky, clouds tore apart as a shadow descended. Massive. Endless. A ship, not like the hunters but something greater. A mothership. Its hull blotted out the stars, its lights burning through the storm. The fleet. Her sacrifice had saved him from the prime, but it had also called something worse. The man stood slowly, Lyra's body still in his arms. His jaw hardened, his eyes cold. The promise in his chest burned like fire. Above, the mothership's lights swept across the ruins, searching. The man laid Lyra gently on the ground, covering her with what remained of the blanket. He picked up the cracked core key, its glow faint but alive. He gripped it tight, then raised his rifle in his other hand. They'll learn, he muttered. His voice was low, steady, unshaken. They'll learn what it means to fight a human. The mothership's shadow loomed larger, engines growling like thunder. The man stepped forward, eyes locked on the sky. His ribs ached, his body screamed in pain, but he did not stop. He had no army, no plan. No hope. But he had something more dangerous, a human's refusal to surrender. The storm broke open, light flooding the ruins as the alien fleet arrived. The man tightened his grip on the broken core key, his promise echoing in his heart. This was not the end. It was only the beginning.